You know that feeling when all your hangers are facing the same direction? When every shirt is spaced exactly one finger width apart, organized by color in a perfect gradient that makes your chest feel lighter just looking at it. That's not normal satisfaction. That's a dopamine hit. A genuine rush that courses through your body when you step back and see order where chaos used to be. And here's the part you don't say out loud. In that moment, standing in front of your perfectly organized closet, you feel more in control than you felt all week. More in control than you felt in that meeting where you smiled and nodded while chaos reigned. More in control than when you checked the news and felt your anxiety spike. More in control than when you lay awake at 3 a.m. thinking about everything you can't fix. But this you can fix. This drawer, this shelf, this corner of your world. Here, in this small, controllable universe, everything has a place. Everything makes sense. Everything is exactly as it should be. And for someone whose brain never stops spinning, whose anxiety lives just beneath the surface, whose life often feels like controlled chaos at best, that matters more than anyone who doesn't feel it could possibly understand. You're not just organizing objects. You're organizing your nervous system. And once you understand that, everything else clicks into place. Let's be clear about what we're actually talking about. This isn't about being tidy. Everyone appreciates a clean space. This is about the people who get genuine pleasure, almost euphoric, from the act of organizing itself. The ones who watch container store hauls on YouTube like other people watch sports, who get excited about label makers, who have specific drawer dividers for specific categories and subcategories of things. The ones who don't just clean their junk drawer, they empty it completely, sort every item, discard half, and return the rest in clearly defined zones with small bins that fit together like a puzzle. And when they're done, they take a picture. Not for Instagram, though maybe for that too, but for themselves. To look at later when everything else feels like it's falling apart. Because this they built. This makes sense. This is proof that order is possible. People on the outside don't get it. They see obsession, perfectionism, control issues, wasted time on things that don't matter. But people who love organizing know it's not about the objects at all. It's about creating one space in your life where your brain can rest. Here's what most people miss. The need to organize isn't about the external world. It's about the internal one. Your mind is chaos. Thoughts overlapping, anxieties compounding, decisions unmade, emotions unprocessed, mental tabs open that you can't close. And you can't organize your mind directly. You can't put your anxieties in labeled bins. You can't color code your traumas. You can't Marie Kondo your intrusive thoughts. But you can organize your pantry. And when you do, when you create visible order out of visible chaos, something in your nervous system relaxes. Because your brain doesn't always distinguish between internal and external disorder. When your space is chaotic, your mind feels chaotic. When your space is organized, your mind borrows that structure. It's not magic, it's neuroscience. Visual clutter competes for your attention. Every item out of place is a small, unconscious decision your brain has to make. Is this important? Do I need to deal with this? Multiply that by 1,000 items in your field of vision, and your cognitive load is maxed out before you even start your day. But when everything has a place, when systems are clear, when you can glance at a space and immediately understand it, your brain can finally stop working so hard. And that space, that cognitive relief, feels like peace. For people who love organizing, that peace is addictive. Here's something else. Organizing is one of the few things in life that gives you immediate, visible results. You start with chaos. You end with order. The transformation is tangible, provable, before and after. In a world where most of your work is invisible, where your emotional labor goes unnoticed, where your growth is gradual and hard to measure, organizing gives you evidence. Evidence that you can change things, that effort yields results, that you have agency. And if you're someone who often feels powerless, that evidence is oxygen. Meet Sarah, 35, marketing manager, reorganizes her closet every 3 months. Not because it's messy. It's never messy. But because the act of doing it calms her in a way nothing else does. She'll spend an entire Saturday emptying, sorting, reassessing, trying new folding methods, new arrangements, optimizing for efficiency and aesthetics. Her partner thinks it's excessive. It was already organized. But he doesn't understand. It's not about the end result. It's about the process, the meditative quality of repetitive tasks, the problem solving, the small decisions that actually have clear right answers, unlike everything else in her life. When Sarah's anxious, when the world feels too big and too loud, she organizes something. Sometimes it's her makeup drawer, sometimes her bookshelf. Sometimes she reorganizes her digital files, which gives the same satisfaction. And when she's done, she can breathe again. It's not a permanent fix. The anxiety comes back. But for a few hours, maybe a few days, she has proof that order is possible. And that's enough to keep going. Meet Marcus, 29, software developer. Lives in a small apartment that looks like a minimalist showroom. Everything has a place. Everything serves a purpose. Nothing is excess. People who visit call it sterile. He calls it intentional. Because Marcus grew up in chaos. Hoarding parents. Clutter everywhere. Never able to find anything. Never able to think clearly. He moved out at 18 and never looked back. Now his space is the opposite. Sparse. Clean. Organized to the point of precision. It's not about aesthetics. It's about safety. When he can see every surface, when he knows exactly where everything is, when nothing is hidden or piled or forgotten, his nervous system knows you're not there anymore. Organizing isn't a hobby for Marcus. It's healing. It's reclaiming the control he never had as a child. And every perfectly organized drawer is a small act of rebellion against the chaos he was raised in. Meet Jenna, 42, stay-at-home mom. 3 kids. Her house is never fully clean because children are tiny chaos agents. But her spaces, her areas, are immaculate. The pantry is labeled. The linen closet is color-coded. Her bathroom cabinet has risers and lazy Susans and everything you're supposed to buy, but most people don't. Because those spaces are hers. The only spaces in the house that stay how she makes them. The kids can destroy the playroom. Her husband can leave his stuff everywhere. But her closet? Her domain. Untouchable. And when she's overwhelmed, when she's touched out and talked out and exhausted, she goes into her closet and just stands there, looking at the order, the systems, the proof that she's capable. Because some days, that's the only evidence she has. Let's go deeper into the psychology. When you feel out of control in your life, you unconsciously seek control in areas where you can have it. Psychologists call this compensatory control. Can't control your job security? Organize your garage. Can't control your relationship? Reorganize your kitchen. Can't control the state of the world? Alphabetize your books. It's not avoidance. It's regulation. You're giving your nervous system a win in an area where wins are possible. And your brain doesn't really distinguish between types of control. Control over your spice rack activates the same neural pathways as control over your life. So when you organize something, anything, you're literally rewiring your brain to remember, I have agency. I can create change. I can make things better. Then there's the perfectionism component. Many people who love organizing have perfectionist tendencies, not the healthy kind, the anxious kind. The kind where you feel like you're never doing enough, never good enough, always falling short. And organizing is one area where perfection is actually achievable. You can have a perfectly organized drawer. You can create a flawless system. You can reach a state of completion. And for someone who never feels finished, never feels like they've done enough, that completion is intoxicating. It's a glimpse of what it would feel like if everything in your life could be this clear, this resolved, this done. There's also the dopamine element. Organizing triggers your brain's reward system in a powerful way. You set a goal, you achieve it, you see visual progress, your brain releases dopamine, and then you want to do it again. It's the same neurochemical pattern as video games, as scrolling, as any behavior that gives quick, repeatable rewards. But unlike those things, organizing also gives you a functional benefit, so it feels productive, virtuous, even. You're not wasting time, you're improving your space, even if you're doing it compulsively, even if it's the fourth time this month, even if part of you knows you're using it to avoid something else. Here's what it actually feels like to love organizing. It's coming home after a terrible day and seeing your perfectly organized bookshelf and feeling your shoulders drop. It's opening a drawer and seeing small containers holding exactly what they should hold and feeling a little spark of joy. It's the Sunday afternoon you spend reorganizing your entire kitchen and the strange, wonderful exhaustion that comes after. Like you've run a marathon, but all you did was move objects from one place to another. It's taking the before and after photos and actually feeling proud, accomplished, like you've done something that matters even though you know, objectively, it's just stuff in drawers. It's the way your brain quiets when your hands are busy with simple, clear tasks. Sort, categorize, arrange, repeat. No ambiguity, no moral complexity, no impossible decisions. Just, does this belong here or here? And your brain can actually answer that. But it's also the guilt, because you spent 4 hours organizing a closet when you could have been working on that project, or calling that friend, or doing something actually productive. Except here's what you're learning. For you, this is productive. Because when your space is organized, you function better. You think clearer. You feel calmer. And that's not frivolous. That's foundational. The organized space is the scaffolding that holds everything else up. Let's talk about what happens in relationships when one person loves organizing and the other doesn't. It creates friction, invisible, constant friction. Because to you, the organizing matters. It's not aesthetic, it's not preference, it's need. But to them, it looks like control. Like you care more about the container labels than you do about living life. They leave things out, not to spite you, just because they don't see disorder the way you do. And you feel it like a physical sensation, the out-of-place item calling to you, disrupting your peace. So you put it away. Again and again, and they feel controlled. And you feel unseen, because what you need them to understand is, this isn't about the objects. It's about your nervous system, about the fact that visual chaos creates internal chaos in a way that's real and physical and not something you can just decide not to feel. But that's hard to explain to someone whose brain doesn't work that way. So you compromise. You have your spaces, and they have theirs. You organize what you can and try to let go of what you can't. But sometimes, late at night, you reorganize the junk drawer just to feel okay again. And you hope they never notice. So what do you do with this need to organize? First, stop pathologizing it. Unless it's interfering with your life, unless you're organizing instead of sleeping or working or maintaining relationships, it's not a problem. It's a coping mechanism. And as coping mechanisms go, it's pretty healthy. You're not hurting anyone. You're creating order. You're self-regulating. That's not dysfunction. That's wisdom. Second, use it strategically. Feeling overwhelmed? Organize one small space. A drawer. A shelf. Something containable. Don't try to organize your whole house when you're anxious. That's too big. You'll get overwhelmed and quit, and then feel worse. Small wins. Visible progress. That's what your nervous system needs. Third, notice what it's telling you. If you're constantly needing to reorganize, if the urge is getting more intense, ask yourself, what am I trying to control that I can't? The organizing isn't the problem. It's the solution your brain has found for something else. What's the something else? Maybe it's work stress. Maybe it's relationship uncertainty. Maybe it's existential dread about things you can't name. The organizing won't fix those things, but it might give you enough stability to face them. Fourth, create systems that maintain themselves. The reason you keep reorganizing is because systems break down. Life happens. Entropy is real. But good systems account for that. They're easy to maintain. They work with your habits, not against them. So don't create Pinterest perfect systems that require perfect maintenance. Create real-life systems for your real-life habits. Systems that forgive mess, that are easy to reset. And finally, let it be enough. Your organized space doesn't have to be Instagram-worthy. It doesn't have to impress anyone. It just has to work for you. It just has to give you that feeling of calm. That's the only metric that matters. Here's the truth about people who love organizing. They're not controlling. They're not obsessive. They're not wasting time. They're creating sanctuary. In a world that's chaotic and overwhelming and constantly demanding, they're carving out small spaces of order, and those spaces hold them together. They're the thread that keeps everything from unraveling. So, if you're someone who loves organizing, who gets genuine joy from labeled containers and color-coded systems, know this. You're not weird. You're not too much. You're not broken. You're just someone who's figured out how to give your nervous system what it needs. A place where everything makes sense. A place where you have control. A place where order is possible. And in that place, you can finally rest. Picture this. You've just finished organizing something. Maybe it's your bookshelf. Maybe it's under your sink. Maybe it's your entire closet. You stand back. You look at what you've created. The clear surfaces. The logical systems. The everything in its place perfection. And you feel it. That quiet exhale. That settling in your chest. Your brain stops spinning just for a moment and whispers, okay, this is good. And you realize something you maybe already knew but forgot. You weren't organizing your closet. You were organizing yourself, putting the scattered pieces back in order, creating structure where there was chaos, proving to yourself that you're capable of creating beauty from mess. And maybe that's what this has always been about. Not the objects, not the aesthetics, not the systems themselves, but the proof that order is possible, that you can create it, that even when everything else is falling apart, you can build something that holds. Because the opposite of chaos isn't just order, it's hope. And every organized drawer is a small act of faith that things can make sense, that you can make them make sense. One container at a time, one labeled bin at a time, one perfect, color-coded gradient at a time, until you've built yourself a world where your nervous system can finally stop defending and start resting. And that's not obsessive. That's survival. That's art. That's you, taking care of yourself in the only way that works. So organize your heart out. Label everything. Color code your life. Create systems that make sense only to you. Because you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for the part of you that needs to know, I can make order out of chaos. I can create beauty from disorder. I can control something, even if it's just this drawer. And sometimes, that's enough to make it through another day.